I want to welcome on the stage Onjali, Bryony and Simeon. They are some of our Being the Story alumni. Some of you might have met them or heard them, but a couple of people have said to me, what happened to that speaker from last year? So I thought, you know what, I'll invite them down. They can tell you for themselves. So let me welcome to the stage Simeon, Bryony, and Onjali. Sit wherever. It's like cosy fireside chats with them and me. How are you?
Great. Good.
So before we start, what have you been up to? We've made a little video.
So we're seeing a lot of people that are rough sleeping. We run a winter night shelter from January through to the end of March, and we will be full.
Well, I mean, for me, there's many underlying factors that cause knife crime and gang crime and street violence on the whole. There's an issue that needs to be tackled from the ground upwards.
The Boy at the Back of the Class is a story about a young group of students at a primary school who have a new boy called Ahmed join their class. What they realise is that he's a refugee child.
It's like I couldn't run fast enough because it literally happened about 5-7 minutes from my house just across the green.
So you saw there some clips of Simeon and Bryony on Channel 4 News, front page of the BBC website. We've also got Pause for Thought on Radio 2 that Onjali does. Our Being the Story speaker, Lorraine, was part of a really fascinating EastEnders recently, which put a spotlight on knife crime. And for one of the episodes, they brought in families, mothers and fathers who'd lost a child to knife crime, and their testimonies were part of the EastEnders programme at the end, and they were involved in the funeral at the end. And then there was a series at the same time on BBC Three with all their testimonies. So Simeon, this time last year you were on this stage.
Yeah.
You did have to prepare this time.
Yeah, no, luckily.
So tell us about Channel 4, what's been happening?
Loads has been happening. Do you know what, to be fair, going through the weeks, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. Today, I've actually had a chance to kind of think about what I've been doing over the year, and it does seem like quite a lot. After the last Being the Story event, you probably called me in the new year about the Channel 4 piece that you just shown. And that was literally, I was on probably like for 30 seconds, but since then, to be fair, the news they won't leave me alone now. So, like literally everything, Simeon, and that's not even Channel 4 news, that's BBC, ITV, West Midlands. So I've done quite a lot of media work, and it's really helped to push what we're doing and the campaign. It's also helped, it's given us a big voice, to be fair, and it's even put pressure on the authorities. So now the authorities are listening to us, where we're now sitting around the table for strategizing how to deal with knife crime and gang issues with the Police and Crime Commissioner and things like that. So those little things that I did in the media has really pushed what I'm saying, what I'm trying to do into the forefront to the point where it can no longer be ignored. So
for some people who didn't hear you last year, talk to us two things about That's TV and the work you're doing, but also the relationship you're creating with journalists. You know, a lot of people are nervous about speaking to the media and nervous about speaking to journalists. But as we've heard this morning, if we don't speak up, who's going to speak for us? So tell us a bit about that.
So we created That's TV Debts TV is basically a YouTube channel. It's a media company. We do a lot more than just create media and YouTube content, though, because we go into schools, deliver workshops, and do mentoring. But basically, we want to develop content to change the culture, because at the moment, we feel like we're fighting a big machine, and all the good work that we do with young people, we've still got this big cultural machine telling them that everything about the lifestyle, gang culture, criminality, knife crime, and all the rest of it is positive. So we kind of wanted to develop something that is going to counteract that big machine.
Yeah. And you've been writing?
Oh, so that's not even all I've been doing. So I've also been doing blogs. So I did a blog for the Huffington Post, and these guys really helped me out. So even in terms of this platform, it's a great platform, but I would have to say that it's nothing without these guys. These guys make it really what it is.
Yeah.
I actually asked Helena earlier on, because I heard Jude say that they only planned for the event 14 weeks prior, but the conversations that we have I kind of feel like they've been working on it all year round. Like I thought this is what they actually did, support the so I don't know, I'm a bit lost now at the minute.
We do this in our spare time. But I mean, the thing about you, Simeon, is you go for it. So when we say there are opportunities for you, we're not writing the blogs, we're just saying there are these opportunities and you take them.
In all fairness, they didn't write the blog, I wrote it, but they made sure it was written to a good standard and helped me out. So they're putting in a lot of work behind the scenes. This has been from last year, December. So in my eyes, they haven't actually stopped working, so I don't know what they've been doing in between, but I feel like they haven't stopped, in all fairness.
Well, I mean, I think what's going on in Birmingham is really exciting. I love to follow the progress. Spitting Blades, his documentary he made for Radio 4 is still available online, and we'll make sure we share the link. Bryony.
Hello.
Jon Snow, you and John.
We had a lovely chat. Really nice. Yeah, tell the story a little bit. So I was driving home like the week before Christmas. It'd been a mad weekend. I was doing homelessness support work at the time, and my phone rings. It's Jude. Got to pick up for Jude, don't you? I mean, honestly. Do you want to be on Channel 4 News? Would you be willing to? And I had about an hour and a half between driving home and being in the studio having a chat with Jon Snow. They did my makeup. They brushed my hair for me, which was really nice. Actually, like the lady in the green room was like, "Do you want to brush your hair? I'll hand you that." Handed me the hairbrush. I was like, "There you go," and she was like. So yeah, literally, I have no idea what I'm doing, as you can tell. But actually, the support you gave us was incredible. Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of the Jude Habib style of media training. I felt very confident that I could put Bryony on. I could put her forward. And actually, it was based on the video. I saw that Channel 4 were doing a season called Out in the Cold on homelessness, and I thought, they've got to meet Bryony. So I actually sent someone who I didn't know a year ago, but was following me on Twitter. I said, "Oh, you've got to see the video." So I sent the video from Being the Story from last year, and literally, she was on the next day. So that's how you can engage with journalists. But in terms of, the process, what did Being the Story give you that I mean, I felt you could do it.
Yeah.
Without formal media training.
Yeah, I mean, there was a crazy marathon up to the actual event to get the script together, wasn't it? And it was a lot of engineering. And then I can remember I did that so many times to memorize it as well, because that was fun. Oh, by the way, could you memorize it? Okay, just memorize it. Well, it was so much fun. And actually, I've met so many of you guys as well, and just being here again, and just so many familiar faces, and this is a real community, and I think that's what's really beautiful about Being the Story, is that it's all of us together, not one voice on a stage, but a community of people that really care about stories.
So Bryony has taken a complete change of career since Being the Story, and I am going to formally apologise to the charity that she worked for. Tell us what you're doing now.
So, yes, I was a homelessness support worker this time last year. I stopped doing that in around July time, so in summer. And I'm now studying law at London South Bank University, because the reality is that just knowing a little bit of law can make a huge amount of difference to a vulnerable person. And so I figure, fill this tank up full of knowledge, and I hope that to be able to continue to help vulnerable people sort of access justice. And I think that's just so important.
So Onjali, she's very funny. We'd go out for lunch, and I'll go, what have you been up to? And she'll say this and that, and helping women, and she goes, oh, by the way, I've just written a book. In 6 months.
It's the only way to break it over lunch, isn't it?
So Onjali, tell us about your incredible year.
Well, this time last year, I was here, and as Bryony said, it was after weeks of training with you guys and being given the confidence and the words just to have the courage to get up and speak about my story. My story was about my charity, Making Herstory, and lots has happened with that as a result of this directly. So we got our first ever grant literally weeks after I was on stage here, and it's given me the resources to get in a researcher. We've done a mass pan-London research into the number of women who are approaching shelters for help every single week, and the number of beds that are actually available, and that's across London. And now we're going to be taking that on the next stage and trying to mobilise Airbnb and hostels and universities to open up their doors and make sure that women who are escaping perpetrators of violence actually get given a space to heal and move on. So that would never have happened without being the story, so I want to thank you for that. I mean, the book is almost like, it's something that I did in my spare time. It was on the side. It wasn't to do with why I was here. But the confidence I've had to actually speak about it and now face school halls full of kids, about 400, 500 kids, without shaking and crying in the corner, has been as a result of this as well. So thank you for all of that.
I mean, you will also... Who listens to Radio 2? Have you ever heard, is it Pause for Thought?
Yeah.
So Onjali,
mainly on Michael Jackson. That's what my Pause for Thoughts are mainly about.
So though you were doing that before, you started just before, so over the years she's been doing that. And that's the thing, we want our speakers to be more visible in places where their experiences and insights can be heard.
But I've always pushed back, so with Making Herstory, I've had requests to come on and speak about domestic violence on television and stuff, and I'd always just say no, I just want to get on with the work. I didn't have the confidence to go out there and actually speak about it, especially something that's so personal to me, because I set up Making Herstory after my aunt was murdered, and it was something that I didn't want to speak about publicly, not very often anyway, but getting on this stage and being guided as to how to do that without hurting myself to a level where I can't actually physically do it anymore has really helped me to be able to do that more often, and not put the phone down on journalists or ignore their emails and pretend it's been in the trash mail for weeks. And now the second book that I'm writing is going to be on that. It's going to be on domestic violence, but for children to access, because it's something that I really want people to get talking about at all levels.
So not only didn't she tell me the book was coming out, she didn't tell me that she had got a 2-book deal. Oh. So 2-book deal. So Simeon, in terms of your relationship with journalists, so you're saying you're a bit more confident to be speaking to people, and do you find the same?
I've always been confident anyway, like that. But I mean, what's good is I think now I've almost become a point of contact to talk about certain issues, or even if journalists want to speak to someone else within my community, they'll give me a shout, "Oh, do you know anyone?" I think what was really important, why it's really important for journalists to cover stories like these, is because, we started working in 2013. We came straight from the streets as gang members. The authorities, the establishment, nobody would listen to us. We was actually getting quite a bit of fight. Now, from last year when there was a media report done, there was a news report done on us, and from there, that put the authorities in a position where they had no choice but to listen to us. It sounds funny, but that's what actually happened. The media actually put pressure on the authorities, and now we're around the tables supporting and giving advice on how to make these changes. So I think it's really important for the media to have relationships with organisations like ourselves.
And, you know, it's something that obviously is a passion of mine in terms of using my background in the media, but really pushing you forward, because it's actually about people, you know, you being able to do it yourselves more confidently, safely, respectfully, and trying to show that, you know...
It's also not just, sorry, is this working? It's not just the media. You've also, I mean, I would never have gone for the Paul Hamlin Foundation grant if it wasn't for you saying, look, this is available, go for it, you should be able to get this. And like kind of, you know, really you need someone to push you sometimes. And you guys do that without even, you know, a second thought. So that's always marvellous.
Always a pleasure. And you got funding as well from Bertha.
We got funding from Bertha, and to be fair, we're now looking at funding from the police, PCC, and the authorities' Home Office. So it's opened a lot of doors for us. Where even for the last 5 years, we was doing loads of work. We've had loads of funding for workshop deliverings in schools and stuff. It's never been from the authorities. It's been from charities and private funders. Now they're listening and they're taking an interest.
And I just want to say, I'm very proud of, you know, I do keep an eye on everyone. I'm very proud of everything you've achieved.
Where'd you find the time? I don't know.
Always, it's like
and we're very needy.
You know, my children, I like to know. But I'm really, you know, you've worked really hard. And I know, Bryony, you're going to have a very, very busy year. But we need to talk about access to justice, and we need more social justice lawyers. And I think they are lucky to have you on the course. But before we go, I thought we'd have a little reading from Onjali's book. Would
Put
you
you all
mind?
off straight away. Oh God.
I just left at the beginning.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to read just a little bit about midway in, I think. Okay. So basically, the character, so the boy at the back of the class doesn't really have anything to do with making Herstory, the second book will, but it's about the refugee crisis, and I wanted to bring it into classrooms. I wanted children to start opening up and talking about a crisis that they will have to deal with very hands-on when they're older, and also they're already dealing with as refugee children are making their way into the classrooms. And I wanted to make it about friendship and humanity, and I wanted to get discussions going as to what we can all do, no matter how big or small the action might be. And in this book, there's a strange boy that turns up in class one day. His name is Ahmed, and the narrator in the book just really desperately wants to make friends with him, and she doesn't understand why he doesn't speak, why he doesn't make eye contact, why he's allowed to sit at the back of the class and basically stay away from everyone. So what they do is they find out where he's from, and they bring in a gift of a pomegranate because they've heard that people from Syria and Turkey, etc., like pomegranates, and this is them trying to give it to Ahmed in the playground. Okay. I meant to give the pomegranate to the new boy at home time, but I was so excited that I couldn't wait until then. So as soon as the bell for first break began to ring, I hid the pomegranate under my school jumper and hurried out into the playground with it. We're not allowed to take food into the playground because we're only supposed to eat snacks in the dinner hall, but I wasn't going to eat it or make anyone else eat it, so I didn't think it counted. The new boy followed us out because he knew we were his friends now. He had stopped disappearing every break time and only went to have his seclusion during lunch times. Even Miss Hempsey had stopped coming out during first breaks and went to the staff room, which I think meant she knew we were the new boy's friends too. Here, I said, as soon as we got out into the corner of the playground, and pulling the pomegranate out from under my jumper, I held it out for him. It's for you. Josie and Michael looked at each other, and Tom looked at me, as we all waited for the new boy to say something, but he just stared and stared, first at us and then at the pomegranate, and he didn't say or do anything. I knew you should have put a sticker on it, whispered Tom, shaking his head. Then slowly, the new boy reached out and took the pomegranate in his hands. Home, he said quietly, his lion eyes getting very big. I have home. Yes, I said, your home in Syria. I've seen it on a map. You know, map. The new boy fell quiet. And then for the first time since we had met him, he smiled. Not a small smile, or a side smile, or even a half smile, but a real proper smile that went from one cheek to the other, and which made his eyes smile too. He opened his mouth to say something, when suddenly Brendan the bully pushed past us, "Give me that," he said. And he snatched the pomegranate from Ahmed's hands. And you'll have to read it to find out what happens to him.
So this has just been a taster for what our Being the Story alumni have been up to. Some have become peer researchers, people around the table with commissioners, and I'm very proud of everything they've all done. Thank you so much. Really nice to see you.